Hello and welcome to a Euros edition of the Centre Circle podcast. You got myself, Keith, hosting today, and I'm joined by Daz, Adrian, and the elusive T. How we doing? How we doing?
What's happening? All good, all good. How are you lot?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Just enjoying the football that's been consuming the days over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's
Good
good to
stuff.
see you, T.
Right.
I know I'm back.
That's good. That's good. Shame we haven't got a full house, but yeah, John might try and join us in a bit. Right, let's jump into it. The Euros have started. It's our first pod since the Euros have started. We're just into the final round of group games. At the minute, Croatia are playing Italy. That's 0-0, and Spain are playing Albania. That's 1-0 at the minute. So yeah, I just want to kind of get your boys' take on the tournament so far. Any teams that have impressed you? Any players? What do you think? I'm gonna start with Daz because I know he's been out there for one of the games. We'll come on to that in a minute. So Daz, what do you think of the tournament so far?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it, to be fair. I think it's been good flowing football. Teams have really, there have been many nil-nil draws. We've been, because we're used to watching Premier League football. Premier League football nowadays, especially at the top end with Arsenal, Man City, is very tactical based. It seems like there's teams are a bit more, they've got a bit more movement, a bit more fluid. So I've really enjoyed the games, to be fair.
Yeah, T, what about yourself?
It's been all right. It's been cool. I've been enjoying watching the younger players, comparing them to our homegrown talent. You know, Yamal. Is that his name? Yamal. Lamine Yamal.
Yeah,
And the other guy, Williams. Musiala, obviously. Just enjoying them expressing themselves really because like what Daz was saying, we're just used to kind of our kind of thing. It's a bit of a change, bit of a difference. That's all right. It's been good. I've
yeah.
enjoyed it.
Adrian.
I'm kind of in between. Some games I've enjoyed, and some games I found them a bit boring, a bit slow. But I think maybe I'm expecting too much from the bigger teams, and actually, what like we just got to wait for them to build up towards the latter stages or the knockout stages of the game. But like T, I've been enjoying the individual performances of certain young players and players that may have not been on my radar before.
Yeah, I agree. There's been quite a few standout players, but what I've liked is the fact that there hasn't been too much of a defensive setup
Yeah,
from most of the teams that are playing. We can take England out of the equation, but we'll come on to that in a bit more detail later. But as you alluded to before we started, Adrian, like teams like Georgia, Albania, like the smaller teams who are kind of making their debuts in this competition, you kind of thought they might have been a bit more pragmatic with how they played, etc. But they've kind of gone for it from the off, and I
yeah.
think that's kind of brought a little bit more excitement to the competition.
I think that's what you got to do though, innit? When you're them kind of teams, you just got to go for it, man. Enjoy the tournament, but just go for it. What's the point in just holding back and trying to get draws or something? Like you might as well just go at every game, go into it like you just want to gonna try and win it. Forget about
Yeah,
It's
and
everything.
this is it.
it's
Like you're there for a minimum of 3 games. Why don't you just throw caution to the wind? Like I know, and I think why teams might be a little bit more defensive is because of the third place, where you don't before you kind of had to win 2 games to qualify, where now you can kind of get through on one win. So that could be why
yeah.
some teams, i.e., Scotland, might be a bit defensive. But yeah, I quite like the way they just like, oh, we're just going to go for it.
Yeah,
Go on, Daz.
that's what I was going to say is that the format of the competition actually lends itself to being defensive. You got to think about it. You get 3 draws, you're probably going to go through. So it's actually refreshing
Yeah,
that teams haven't looked at it that way, even though the competition, the way that they've done it, makes it beneficial for you to be defensive. Which you can go through without even winning the game. So yeah, it has been really refreshing to see the way that the teams have approached it.
yeah, definitely. Um, so if we talk about a couple of the teams who have I wouldn't say stood out, but who have looked pretty good. So Germany, opening game, they kind of demolished Scotland 5-1. I think that was a little bit in part to Scotland's setup, to be
Yeah.
honest. Then they won their second game against Hungary 2-0, and they rounded off with a draw against Switzerland last night. Out in Germany, even though the tournament's in Germany, there hasn't been much clamouring about how well Germany could do. Their media is not really hyped up for them. I think they're getting more hype outside of Germany. What have you guys made of them and their start? Like we said that Musiala played really well so far. Cruz is back in the team and squad doing what he does best. What's your thoughts?
I think watching them, I think they've got a nice blend of experience and youthfulness coming through. So they're complementing each other quite well, and they're quite tactically well set up. So just enjoying individual performances of Musala. Who else is there? Looking at the other attacking midfielder, Verts. Is it Verts?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look,
the guy from Leverkusen.
yeah, him, and just enjoying what they bring to the game. So it's been quite enjoyable to see their development, how Kai Havertz is operating in that setup, and what that looks like. So yeah, Germany's been impressive overall from what I've seen, and just looking what they're doing, the youth coming through. I'm surprised Sane's not getting a start or more minutes than he has so far, because I think they do need a bit of whip sometime in that game, in their game.
Yeah, and you mentioned Havertz. Is he a number 9 now?
I think that's his best placed position.
You think so?
But go on, T.
Number 9. You think so? I don't know if it. Well,
I I think that's his
did
best
say
placed position.
I did say the other day. Do you think he would have got over 20 to 30 goals if he played up front for us the whole season? And I was met with yeah. So maybe it is his position.
I think his best position is number nine.
Hmm.
I don't think he's very good in the midfield. So the number nine, he does. I think he does a much better job. I think it lends to his qualities a bit more.
And do you
And
think
that's it.
that's no? What I was going to say is that do you think for Germany and even for Arsenal, there are better players suited for the 10 role? That's why he kind of caught in the middle. Where I think when he was at Chelsea, he could kind of play that 10 role quite comfortably because there wasn't anyone else really there to do that role. But for Arsenal and Germany, he's not the standout 10. So do you think he's kind of caught in that conundrum of playing in the middle or playing up front?
I think even for Chelsea, I think they started kind of accepting that he's more of a 9 than the 10. And I think it's just how he moves into space and out of space. And if you've got a system that kind of complements that, then it will work. I remember I mentioned it in the pod previously that he's got similar traits or attributes to Muller. You know how late arrivals or just the technique. He's quite
Yeah.
physical,
Are you
but
sure you want to say that again? Because you were you were met with some disagreement
right,
right
I,
when you said that.
and I'm happy to say it again because the more you watch it, the more you're going to realize. Just little thing, he picks up spaces in the game that actually no one can really mark him, but it's quite effective what he does. He either takes players with him or he can make an impact in terms of finishing. Because even yesterday's game when I was watching it, even though he didn't score, he looked like the most likely player to score for Germany until the other striker came on for them. He had a couple headers. I think he tried a shot. But it's just the way he plays the game and how he moves. You're not going to get him bursting up and down. He's not a strong dribbler, you know. But his timings of runs, little touches, little passes that he makes actually brings the attack together.
I think he actually is improving in the role as well as a number nine. There's things I'm seeing him do now that he wasn't doing 6 months ago. So I think he's actually improving in the role. But either for Arsenal or Germany, I don't think he's the answer, but he's the answer right now, if you get what I mean. I think Germany could well win this tournament with Havertz up front.
Yeah, I think that's a fair
Mm.
assessment, to be honest. Um, let's talk about France. So they opened their campaign with a tough win against Austria. So it was an own goal that got them the 1-0 win. And then in that game, We saw Mbappe go off injured with a suspected broken nose, and in their second game, they drew 0-0 with the Netherlands. Wasn't really an inspiring game, to be honest. But there was that contentious goal ruled off by the the English officials, where Yavi Simmons has scored. I can't remember the name of the Dutch player that was judged to be offside
It was
in the
Dumfries. It was
group.
Denzel
Oh,
Dumfries.
Dumfries. So I think we've all kind of agreed amongst ourselves when the match was going on that the goal should have stood. Unless I've got that wrong. Anyone else disagree?
Yeah, the goal should have stood.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think the goal should have stood. I thought that it was
Oh,
correctly off.
really?
It was correctly ruled
What?
offside. Yeah.
You think the player was
So
interfering with the goalkeeper? Dumfries
Was
interfering with the
was
Standing
was
right next to him.
Dumfries, wait, was
Next to
Dumfries
him.
in line with the goalkeeper? Was he? I
Right
don't
next
know.
to him, where the
was it?
goalkeeper
yeah,
would
he was
dive
in
to
line
save
with the
the ball.
goalkeeper.
Was he a bit
He was
in
in line with the
front? Was he a
goalkeeper.
bit back?
No, he's in
He was
line with
in
the goalkeeper. To the left of the goalkeeper, where the goalkeeper would have to dive to try and save the ball. Of course, he's interfering with
Yeah,
him.
but okay, all right,
Nah.
cool.
That's,
Okay, cool. We say it is offside. All right, cool, it's offside. But do you think the keeper would have dived?
the keeper wouldn't have stopped it. No, but that's not the rule.
No, that's all I wanted to
I
know.
agree. It's harsh. It's harsh. The goalie
Yeah.
wouldn't have stopped it because it was actually fantastic finish by Xavi. That was a great finish. But
Yeah, it was.
where Dumfries was standing is where the goalkeeper would have to have dived to try and stop the ball, and so
I think
it
it's
took
fair.
a long time. It's harsh, and I get the arguments, but by the letter of the law, it was a correct decision that goal had to be
I
disallowed.
think it was fair, but I believe that if Dumfries wasn't even there, the keeper would have done exactly the same thing. By the
Just
time he
watched it roll
flinched,
in.
it was
Yeah. But to be
Yeah,
fair,
I think it could have gone either way. 50-50 in it. Sorry, go on, Adrian.
but France in that game could have been 2 or 3-0 up.
Uh,
And Rabiot missed 2 chances where he refused to shoot, and then Griezmann missed one, and I think the guy either cleared it off the line or blocked it. And then so they had a chance to be 3-0 up before Simmons got that goal to take the lead, and which was rightfully disallowed. But
did Netherlands have a couple chances as well though in the game?
yeah, they did. I think
Cameron
France
didn't
can
Van Dijk had a header as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a fair result. I've got to be honest though. You know, I'm disappointed in Dembele.
Oh, don't even talk to me about this guy. This guy
We're
is rubbish. He's not that good. He's so overrated. Every single time I've seen him for the last 6 years, he's been rubbish.
No, but just watching, I was like, oh, I'd rather see.
He's like that He's like that. He's been like that for the last 5 years.
No, but
Yeah,
it was
it's true.
bad. It was just bad. I think Kingsley should be starting ahead of him. I'd rather watch Kingsley than him. But
Yeah, I think with Dembele, he hasn't really kicked on. Yeah, he hasn't kicked on since the Dortmund days, has he?
No.
Where everyone thought, right, he's made that big money move, and it was a lot of money to Barcelona at the time, and he wasn't really that proven. He was exciting in it, and we thought that he would kick on and go to the next step. Where even now that he's at PSG, it's
Paris,
again like we're talking about him in the Champions League, and it's like you're just waiting for that spark for him to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just doesn't seem to be happening. But yeah, France are on 4 points. Mbappe's hasn't even played 90 minutes yet. There's talk he might be on the bench again when they play their last game, which is against Poland this week.
It was quite good for them. Thuram up front. Thuram he done some nice stuff up front.
He put himself about. He was a bit of a nuisance, wasn't he?
Yeah. And then obviously we know what Kante brings, but Kante's just looked rejuvenated from that move to Saudi. You know, he was everywhere in that game.
And in the first game, like he's got man of the match in their 2 games so far. And it goes to show that we've kind of disparaged the quality of the Saudi Pro League sometimes. And obviously Henderson went out there. He thought he would have made it into the England squad. And Kante's proven that you can go there, play in a lesser league, so to speak, and still kind of put out the performances when you've got the quality.
I just think that's Kante though. I don't think that's everyone. I don't think that's that everyone can do.
I agree with that.
I think that's Kante. I don't even think he wasn't. Well, he was bad to the end at Chelsea, but I feel like that's because he had loads of injuries and stuff. I feel
Yeah,
like he's always got that quality, and it didn't matter
I,
where he played. As long as he's fit, he's gonna do well.
I totally agree with that. One thing I will say about France, they haven't been as impressive as I thought they would be. To
Mm.
me,
no,
after seeing everyone maybe one or two times, I think this tournament is wide open. Wide,
100%.
wide open. I could name six, seven teams that could win it because everyone
yeah,
seems to be of the same sort of level. It's only a little bit here or there that's going to decide these games.
yeah. Well, only Spain have got maximum points so far, and it looks like if they hold out, they'll get 9 points from the group.
Did Portugal get maximum points so far as well? Portugal
Uh,
as well. They got six
yeah. Oh,
points.
yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
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 Mm,
Apologies. Good job you're on hand to correct me.
mm.
Netherlands. They haven't looked too bad as well. I think there's been some good performances. I think Gakpo surprised me. Like he's been pretty indifferent at Liverpool last season. But it seems whenever he pulls on the international shirt, and there's some players who are like that, they put on an international shirt and they just seem to step up a level, step up a gear. I think he's done pretty well. Simmons has done well also. Memphis hasn't really looked of sorts. Yeah, just still waiting a little bit more from him. I think defensively, I think they should swap out Ake for Van der Ven at left back because I think he offers more going forward. I think Ake is a better defender, but going forward, I think Van der Ven will give them a little bit more width. But yeah, Holland haven't been too bad. I think they'll be a sleeper. It does say they're one of the teams who are going to be there and thereabouts
I think
in
they'll
the
do
competition.
quarterfinals. They'll just do quarterfinals. I think they'll come out then. To be honest, I don't feel like they're gonna move any further than that. That's my opinion. I don't think they're.
In,
It depends on the draw because obviously they could win that group. Depending on
Yeah.
what happens in the last game, they could. It's probably go down to
yeah,
goal difference. So if they win the group, that could open up the draw for them.
yeah, very true. Um, let's talk about a nation have seen who's been tagged with like a golden generation and they should have won maybe a tournament or two. Belgium started off with a really disappointing defeat to Slovakia. Obviously, they dominated the game. I think Lukaku had one or two goals ruled out in that game, but they just couldn't gel. They couldn't click.
Mm.
What do you think's wrong with Belgium? Is it just they just don't come together when the
I
all
don't
the
think their squad's great. I don't think they've got a great squad anymore. Like they did have that golden generation or whatever, but I don't think their squad's all that anymore. To be honest.
yeah? And to be
Yeah,
fair,
that
they've got
golden generation's finished. That gone. A lot of them are gone now. It has. It's gone. A lot of them. Company, Hazard. A lot of them are gone now. Literally, the only two left of the golden generation is De Bruyne and Lukaku. They're the only two left in the starting 11.
but they've got players. So I would say their forward line is a bit more promising than their defense. So in their defense, they've got Fast who plays for Leicester. We've seen him in the Premiership. He's not great. Like he's not the best. But going forward, they've got Onana kind of as their DM, and then they've got Trossard, De Bruyne, Doku, Lukaku, which isn't a bad forward line. So they should be getting over the line against a team like Slovakia, really, shouldn't they?
Yeah, against Slovakia, yeah. But realistically, I don't think they're all that, man.
And
I
then
don't.
they followed that up
Mm.
with a win over Romania. Tielemans with a good strike. I've been pretty critical of Tielemans over over this season. I don't think he's an excellent player, but I think he's someone who can do the job. And yeah, De Bruyne capitalised on a long ball from the goalkeeper to score a good goal. So Belgium, are we saying what potentially quarterfinals for them as well, or last 16, depending on who they
I'd say
get?
last 16. Yeah, depending on who they get, but they lost to Slovakia already, so it really doesn't matter.
I reckon they
But you
should
never
win.
know.
They should win the group. So I reckon that they'll get past last 16. So yeah, I'll say quarters. But once you get into the quarters, everyone's been playing everyone. It's going to be whoever which team rises on the day. I think
Yeah,
those games are going to be so hard to call.
And
yeah, definitely.
because I think so. I think when you look at like Belgium, France, all the teams right now, they're just missing one position or two positions to make them really good. So you look at Belgium, you're saying, all right, their defense is not as strong as it used to be, but they got everything else going forward. You look at France and you're saying, all right, for me, their midfield, apart from Kante, is not as free flowing as you would hope it to be. And you look at Holland, their
Yeah,
strikers are not as good. So everyone's just got, and that's why I see what Daz is saying. It's wide open to anyone because
Mm,
actually, who turns up on the day can win. Where you can't say there's an outright favourite team that's got everything needed to help them win this tournament.
mm.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, as Daz mentioned, Portugal are 2 for 2 at the minute. Um, I've had them as kind of dark horses for the tournament. Not been much clamour around them, but I think their squad is really good. Portugal, and if Martinez can get them to gel, I think they will do pretty well. Their last game, they beat Turkey 3-0, and their opening game,
They struggled a
they
bit in
beat.
their opening game, though. Didn't they get the 2 goals in the last 5 minutes or something? So even them,
Yeah,
they've
so
got a
they
great
were.
squad on paper, and they've got a really easy group, but they struggled in their first game.
Yeah, so they went 1-0
Mm,
down to the Czech Republic. They
mm,
equalised quite soon, but it was an own goal. And then Conte Sal scored like an injury time winner.
mm.
So yeah, they're a bit fortuitous. So they're kind of the better teams, and teams are doing okay. Let's just have a quick assessment of Scotland. So we've kind of said your Georgias and your Albanias have turned up to the tournament, first time there, and they've been like, right, let's give it a go. Let's see what we can do. Georgia, I've got the gentleman from Lazio whose name I'm not going to pronounce, um, but we all know
Mm.
who we're talking about. Scotland, who have got a few more established players in their ranks than you could say, like the likes of Georgia and Albania have, but they've come to the tournament, first game against Germany, and they've just capitulated. It's like they had major stage fright. Is that just the mentality of Scotland as a whole? Do you think Steve Clark got the setup wrong?
I,
What do you think that was?
I think it was the stage fright thing. To be honest, I think it was a perfect match for Scotland. I mean, for Germany, obviously home nation and all that. So I feel like it was probably the wrong match for them to start with. But
I
I
think
thought they would have done a
for
bit
me,
better after
tactics.
that. But go on.
Yeah,
Adrian,
go on, Adrian.
Adrian, what you gonna say?
For me, tactics was a big issue for me. I think they went for a very defensive setup because they feel that's their strongest position, and I think they were a bit too cautious. And then I think what happened naturally is the gap between the midfield and the striker was too big for them to cover because they lacked the width. Or the width got up there, but I just felt there was too much gaps. There wasn't enough attempt to playing football, and there's a bit of the old school get down the wings and cross it in, and we'll pick up on the seconds and the scraps. I didn't enjoy any aspects of their football at all. I didn't see anyone trying to play either in their team.
Yeah, I think the first game was pretty dire. Daz, anything about the first game before we move on to the last two?
Yeah, Scotland. Yeah, it's hard to play the host in the first game, but from what I've seen, they've comfortably been the worst team in the tournament. Mm,
We laugh, but I don't think that's a bad assessment, to be honest.
mm.
Like if we move on to their following two games, so they drew with Switzerland. They went 1-0 up fairly early on in the game, and they looked. I wouldn't say they looked in control, but they were quite confident. You could see they were on the front foot. But it's like when they scored, they kind of stopped playing football and they kind of ran out of ideas. And then, yeah, I think who was it that gave the ball away? Was it Ralston? Yeah, so Ralston played a lazy back pass,
Yeah,
and Shaqiri kind of nicked in
Oh, what a
and
goal! What a finish that
scored
was.
a banger. One of many bangers that have been scored in the tournament. To be fair, and yeah, they just didn't look like scoring a winner, if that makes sense. And then, okay, fair enough. That game finishes 1-1. You know, you've got another chance to try and qualify for the last 16. 4 points should, in truth, get you through. And then their game against Hungary, who again haven't looked particularly great themselves, to be honest. It just all looked a bit desperate, like it wasn't controlled. It wasn't like Steve Clark told them to go out and be like, right, we've got 90 minutes to try and get this game. It was like everything was 100 miles an hour from the start. And I think it just took their toll on them at the end. Obviously, with the injury to the Hungarian player, there was a long stoppage time. But this game didn't really spark into life until maybe 5 minutes of normal time, and then the last 10 minutes of added time. And I think even Hungary themselves started playing after that time as well.
Yeah.
But
But everyone's
yeah,
been
Scotland
saying
had a
this whole Scotland are so unlucky. They conceded last minute or whatever. But to be fair, they were going out anyway. A draw wouldn't have been good enough for them. They would have been going out with 2 points. So I don't
yeah,
get this whole, oh my God, they've let it go in the last minute. I think they were going out.
yeah, and it's just a bit of a shame because they had a really good qualifying campaign. Like they was in a group with Spain. I think they beat Spain home and away in qualifying, and they qualified with like 2 or 3 games to spare. So I think they would have gone into the tournament thinking, "Oh, we can actually do something here." But yeah, they've
How
come
were
to
they
another
playing in the
tournament.
qualifiers? How were they actually playing in the qualifiers though?
Yeah,
Were
they're
they
playing pretty well.
were
Started off
they
really well. I think that
Yeah,
McTominay was one of the top goal scorers in the qualifying. I
yeah,
think
he
he
was
was like
second
third.
behind
Yeah,
Lukaku.
yeah,
Second
yeah.
behind Lukaku.
Mm.
So yeah, they done really well, but it just seems they were a bit disjointed coming into the tournament, and ultimately they kind of paid the price for that. Um, any players that have stood out for you? You think you didn't really know about? You might want your club to kind of look out for them, or just kind of established players who have just kind of done the job. Any names that spring to mind?
apart from
No, I don't think. I don't think there've been many standout players personally.
some established ones have been alright. Obviously, the youngsters that I've spoken about already, they just look unreal. That Yamar just looks unreal. I don't even know. It's ridiculous what he's doing.
Yeah, 16. It's
Dumb.
correct. After the first game, the Spanish king went into the changing room, and he was like, "Are you really 16?"
I don't believe it.
It,
I don't believe it. I don't
it's,
believe it.
it's
He's
mental,
too
in it.
good.
Like
He's too good.
just the confidence. He got pace about him, and over the next say 3 or 4 years, you would hope that he's only going to get better in it and just improve. Like once he kind of grows into his body, so to speak, because he's only 16. Like he's still
Like,
got a bit of
he
growing to
doesn't
do.
actually have to get better. He can actually stay the same. Just be good. Just be good. That's it.
Yeah, I think
They said
he'll
that
want to though.
if Spain plays extra time, they're going to get fined from German because the German law, minors are only allowed to work up to 11 o'clock. So if he plays past 11,
Is that
if he
true?
plays past 11 o'clock at night, fined 30K or something.
Uh, that's
That's
brilliant.
mad, crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure they wouldn't mind. To be fair, I think Saliba's been pretty good. He had like a little moment in the first game, but on the whole, I think he's been pretty good. Kind of vindicated Deschamps' choice for partnering him with Upamecano. But yeah, I think you guys are right. There hasn't been many massive standouts. I think Wirtz has been okay, and the guy, the
I
Fulcrum.
think
Player.
Musiala's been the best player. I think Musiala's been the best player in the tournament so far. I think he's had
Yeah, he's been really good.
Musiala, yeah.
2.5 very good games.
Yeah,
The Georgia guy that we don't really see him a lot. Obviously, I'm not going to try and say his name like Keith, but he looks like a player. You don't really see him week in week out in it, but he looks like a player.
yeah, he does.
Williams, Spain, looks like a serious player.
Yeah,
I said he looked better than Doku. In my opinion, I think he looks like he's got the end product there. He knows what he's doing when he's running with the ball. He looks
yeah.
more refined.
And we had a bit of a debate in our football group about Liao. I'm of the opinion that he's just kind of missing a little bit. Other people are here for him. What we got to say about Liao?
What missing? What though?
Composure.
I just think whenever I see him play,
Mm.
he's always just like we said earlier about having a moment, having a spark. Like I don't see that complete article with him.
Yeah.
It's
How,
like he still needs to be coached a little bit, if that makes sense.
how old is he? Do we know?
Yeah, I'll tell you in 1 second.
He's not like a young though, is he?
No, and while I'm doing this, Modric has just missed a penalty for
Wow.
Croatia, but then they've just scored.
25.
And Modric has just scored
That's
25.
mad.
So yeah, 25 is quite.
You
It's
should be
not young,
glad.
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it isn't.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, I think he should be ahead of the curve than where he is now, to be honest. But that's just my opinion.
and I do think that's a valid point. When you look at what Nico Williams was doing against Italy, you're expected to see that. Like, I want to see Leao do something like that. Like, he terrorized Italy in that game. Like, absolutely destroyed them. And
There's still time. There's still time. There's still time.
But 25, like how much time do you want to?
Nah,
You
in
wanna give him?
general, I think in general at AC he's doing his thing. He's doing his thing. He's putting up the numbers. He's all right. In this competition, maybe he just hasn't turned up yet, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
fair enough assessment. Fair enough. Right, let's talk about England. And there's been a lot of furore around England and their two games. And right, so let's start at the beginning. So going into the tournament, me surprisingly, I didn't see too much clamour from the English media about how well England would do in this tournament compared to other tournaments. I'm not saying that there was no narrative around England could win it, etc. But it didn't seem as built up as previous tournaments that England have gone into. And that was reflected in the odds by a lot of bookmakers. England were down as favourites ahead of France. So there was a little bit of expectation, but for me, I didn't see anything major around that. So going into their first game, and I was fortunate enough to be out in Germany to watch England's first game. The lineup didn't really spring too many surprises. Like we've seen Trent play midfield. He did so in a couple friendlies in the build up to the tournament. We know that only one kind of left back was taken. Luke Shaw, we know he's not fit, so we all expected Trippier to play left back. I think the only kind of real position was who plays next to Stones in defence, and he went with Mark Gahey. So we go to the game, their first game, and they go 1-0 up pretty early. So across from Saka, and Bellingham heads it in. They go 1-0 up against Serbia. And for the first 35 minutes, I'm in the England end. Everyone's jovial. Bellingham's bossing the game. Saka's giving his left back problems. Mark Gahey's doing well. Stones is okay. Like there's no real sense of, sometimes when England play, there's a little bit of dread. It was all seemed nice for 35 minutes. And then it just seemed like there was a switch. And it was either England were purposely told to drop off, or Serbia just went on the front foot and England couldn't handle it. And it stayed like that for the rest of the game. I thought England might come out in the second half and be like, right, let's get back control of the game. But no, Serbia kind of dominated it. And I think we were lucky that they didn't have anything up front to actually punish us. So what do you guys make of so one, the lineup for the first game, and two, the performance?
Who wants to go?
Stunned into silence.
Who wants to go first?
Go on, Adrian.
Go on, TG,
Adrian. You go.
Well, we could look at two games, but yeah, when you watch the games overall, in its entirety, it was just like stage fright took place, a bit of conservatism took place as well, like them stepping back, sitting back. And when you look at like their position overall the 90 minutes, Saka was the main outlet. He was the furthest forward, but everyone else was so deep, or just took this line of, all right, we're going to protect this goal, and at one point it felt like there was like actually 9 in front of the box waiting to stop them coming on. It's been slow, been a bit predictable, no real patterns of play, and actually no real kind of tactical genius or kind of nous to say, right, I need to switch this up. All the subs are predictable that he's bringing on. So as a result of having a predictable, you're just bringing on other guys to play the same way. No one that's going to play a bit different in that 11. And just touching on Luke Shaw, if you had the extra men, you could have bought extra players. Why didn't you just bring an extra left back for balance? And Mitchell at Crystal Palace was an option for you as a backup. Mitchell's been pretty solid for Crystal Palace all season. He's played against all the best wingers in the league, and actually he turned out he's done quite well in the games. So you could have Mitchell there just as an option, but you went with Tony, and I don't think he's even going to use Ivan Toney in this tournament now. So you could have went with Mitchell, but you're going to play Trippier left back, who had a woeful season anyway. I would have preferred Gomez to be left back than Trippier. And that's where I stand with it. I think.
Yeah, and I think that's what he done instead of Mitchell. Like, I'm in the camp of he should have taken Mitchell, like at least put him in that kind of pre-squad that he had, just to kind of see what he could do. And the fact that you've only taken one predominantly left-footed left back who hasn't played since December, I want to say. So even when he does become fit, he's not match fit. And we've seen Luke Shaw takes a while to kind of get back into the rhythm of things. Like we've seen that at Man United when he's had injuries.
I get if he didn't want to take Mitchell because Mitchell's very inexperienced, not been in England squad. But if he wanted someone a bit more experienced, he had Ben Chilwell there as another option that he could have put into that squad. So it's really bad that he's just left it with Luke Shaw. I know at the time they was expecting him to be fit for the second game, but now we've got to the third game and he's not fit for the third game. So it's looking like a really bad decision now because it's really hampering the team as well.
But ain't Gahey and Konsa the same? And Cobby and Wharton, they're all the same. They're all inexperienced. So why didn't you just bring him?
Well, that's probably why.
Yeah.
You might not want too many inexperienced players in. But why would it make even more sense is that Gay and Mitchell even played together at club level. So then it even makes it more that they already have that relationship already. So it's looking like a bad decision.
And so one last thing. It's not like Luke Shaw is a dead ball specialist like Roberto Carlos or he's like Marcelo. So he's worth bringing along for him to get fit, then he can change the tournament. He's none of those guys. If he was like Marcelo, I could be like, you know what? He's the English Marcelo. He's not even that. So you brought him for no reason.
He's just a left back, isn't he?
Just a left back, a very standard left back.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, Adrian, the subs that were made, they weren't made with any conviction. And there's always been this thing about Gareth Southgate's in-game management and the lack of it. So he took off Trent, brought on Gallagher. Again, we had some debate in our group about what Gallagher actually brings. Like, we know he got an engine on him. Some people said that's good because he can win the ball back and feed it off to someone who can be progressive with the ball. Others think you should have someone on the pitch who's a little bit more progressive themselves. Bellingham came off for Cobby, but that was quite late on in the game. And Saka came off for Bowen, who actually put in a really good cross for Cade, who should have scored. Really good save by the goalkeeper. But like I said, I was at the stadium, and by far, Phil Foden was the worst player on the pitch. And I think it's got to the point now where we need to stop shoehorning players. So I think Trent was shoehorned into midfield just because of an experiment. And I think Foden's been shoehorned into the left of the team just because he's one of England's best players. But just because you're one of England's best players doesn't mean you have to play. And we've seen how well Bellingham does in the 10. And I don't think you can replace him for Foden at this point. I think if you want to play Foden and Bellingham together, you play Rice and Bellingham behind Foden. So what do you guys think about the Foden conundrum? Do you put him in the middle, drop Bellingham back? Do you not play him, bring him on as an impact? What would you do?
I feel like
For me, go on, T.
I feel like we all kind of agree that Bellingham and Rice should be a bit back, and then Foden should go in that hole, that number 10. That's the midfield three. That's what it should be. I feel like all that Gallagher and all this other stuff doesn't even come into the question. That should be the three. I feel like we kind of agree on that. But in all honesty, I don't even blame Gareth anymore. I don't blame Gareth because I don't think he should be there anyway. I don't think he's a good manager. I don't think
But
he's a
he
good
is there,
manager.
so he's got to
Cool,
use
yeah,
the
cool.
tools. Yeah,
But I don't blame him. Number one, because we've always spoken about Gareth, about his team selections. Now we've actually got the new Gareth, let's say, that's gone for a bit of he's looked at form. He's picked off form and he's picked some youth as well. That's like done quite well this season. So you can't really blame him with the players he picked. But now we're looking at it and we're looking at that left wing spot, and I'm thinking, bloody hell, Sterling was there, Rashford was there, Grealish was there, but could we really pick? Would we have been happy with him picking them at the time? No, everyone would have
no.
been like, "Oh no, how could you do that?" But now we're looking at it, thinking, "Bloody hell, we need a bit of Rashford, or even Sterling, like someone that just you get me, that's natural on the left hand side." But yeah, like I said, I'm not even blaming him anyway, man. He shouldn't be in a job. I don't think he should be in the job.
Adrian, what do you think, bro?
Your mic.
But
Yeah,
yeah, no, I think with that Gareth shouldn't be in the job anymore. But I think there's an element where some of the players have got to take some of the blame for it as well because they've had this stage to step up and they've all wilted. You know, the only one who can really walk out with real credit is Gehi, because all the other players they haven't really stepped up, taken the game to the opposition. All right, Bellingham the first game was impressive. Second game, non-existent. Saka had a very good first game or first half, should I say? And then the other game, he was okay, but he was the only one kind of asking any questions of the opposition of Denmark, and that's it. But everyone else, for me, has been well below par, well below. And this is your stage. This is your chance to shine as well.
yeah. All right, and then so we move on to the Denmark game. And
Can I just say something on that Foden situation, the conundrum, because that is actually a
yeah,
good
go on.
point. For me, I don't agree with the Bellingham, Rice, Foden midfield. For me, Foden has to go on the bench. Foden go on the bench. You can only play Bellingham or Foden in the 10. I look at what Jude Bellingham's done this season, playing for the European champions. You're not moving him out of that position. So Foden has to sit on the bench. I'll get someone in midfield and tell Jude to do exactly what he does at Real Madrid. And I would play, you have got someone on the left. I'll play Anthony Gordon on the left. He plays there for Newcastle. He's going to give me the
Yeah.
width that I need. He's natural
Wait,
out there.
wait,
That's his position.
wait, 1 second. So you think? So do you think that well, you can't really take away that you're going to say Champions League in it, but do you think Phil Foden hasn't played better than Jude Bellingham this season, or
No,
he's
of
been
course
level?
not. No,
He
I
hasn't.
don't think. No, I think Jude's been better. I think
You
Jude.
think
I
he's
think Jude's
played
been better.
better than him?
I think Jude's been better. Yeah, and I think he's been way better for England, which is more important. He's been
Yeah,
way
who's
better
been
for
better?
England. Even if you say that
Yeah,
their club form, if you can say their
He's
club
been
form is
better for
level
England.
for England, he's been way better, and that's what we're talking about here.
But I
So
don't, I don't,
I'm
I
Jude's
don't,
number one.
I don't see, I don't see Bellingham as being, oh yeah, he's levels above like what Foden done this season, and he's the
No,
best.
there's not a massive gap.
Oh, there's not a
Either way,
massive
there's
gap,
not a
but
massive gap. Yeah.
I don't think there's a gap. I don't think there is a gap.
But I think we're looking
That's
at
what
it the
I'm
wrong
saying.
way. I don't think
what
it's
about for
about
England? Is there a gap for England?
Definitely. But when does Foden play in that role for England?
The last game before they came out to a tournament, he was awful.
Yeah, he was.
Against
Not
Iceland, he
again.
played that role. Against
Yeah.
Iceland,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he
I
But
was
wasn't
at
there.
that game as well.
Jude wasn't there because Jude was too busy winning the Champions League. He wasn't there.
No, but I honestly don't. I actually don't think. I think Foden on his day, especially on his day, that's exactly what England needs. Like what Jude gives you
When
He's
is
not
that
is
his
a
having
day?
his day though.
they're two different kind of players,
But when is it his
and I
day?
think
When is
Phil
it going to be
Foden
his
is
day?
the best in that number 10.
But when is it going to be his day? And this is the thing that sometimes
Oh,
England
we're
makes a
waiting
mistake
for his
in.
day when.
And Keith touched on it
No, I,
about
I believe,
shoehorning
I
players
believe,
in.
I believe if we done that, if we done Bellingham, Rice, and Foden in the middle, and we actually had a balanced team instead of having Trent in
But
there
you're
in the
moving
midfield,
Bellingham out of position. You're
playing
pushing Bellingham. You're
centre
taking
back,
away.
things like that.
Taking away what's good about Bellingham because you're moving him back into a position that he doesn't play. So we're doing the same thing that we're doing with Foden when pushing him left. Now you're pushing Bellingham back to a position he don't play.
And sometimes I think the
I
beauty
just
of
feel like
international football or some international managers is about balance. It's about actually what brings best balance to my team rather than who's like. You look at France. We could say Camavinga's better than Adrian Rabiot. Yeah, we could say that. We could our ability
Mm.
wise, in terms of balance, he brings the balance to the team. You understand? Like we could say there's a younger legs than Griezmann, but right now, in terms of balance for France, this guy complements my midfield. Griezmann playing midfield complements the team a lot better than we going for a younger player. And I think that's the problem with England.
That's
Sometimes
true.
we don't look at the balance in terms of how can we make this a balanced team to get the best out of these certain players that's going to get us the results. And even though Foden ability
That's
is better than all of them naturally, in terms of the balance of the squad and how the squad plays, he doesn't complement the balance. So then you have to look at other options. Should we look at Anthony? Should we look at Eze? Because those guys, and should instead of Trent, should we put Mainu in or Wharton in? Or even
yeah.
Gallagher. Even if we don't like Gallagher, Gallagher brings a level of balance that allows the others to play. So you play him. But I hear
you don't
you.
think
But
so.
I'm telling you, yeah, I'm telling you, you have to have. You play Gordon out there. He's natural. You can't have too many square pegs in round holes. So you want to fit all your best players in. But if it doesn't, as Adrian said, if the balance is not right, it doesn't matter because they're not going to perform. Which we're finding out right now is that we've got to. So for me, it's Bellingham or Foden. If you don't want, if you want Foden to play, then you've got to take Bellingham out. You
You
can't
think
push
so?
him
You
Yeah.
back.
think that midfield three? You think that midfield three wouldn't be balanced?
It looks nice on
No,
paper.
but
It looks
no,
nice on paper.
because you got someone playing that position.
Yeah, but wait,
I
hold
hear
on.
that,
So
Daz,
wait,
but hold on, Tim.
when he
Sorry, one
played for
second. I hear
Dortmund,
that.
was he in a 10?
No, it's a new role.
Oh, it's a new role.
But
Only 1 year
Yeah.
in.
but he
Oh, that's
but
So
he
fine.
So
how?
he's
what? So
excelled
we're
in
gonna
it.
take, but you can't take him back now. You can't take him
No,
back
but you're
now.
saying
He's
he can't
excelled in
play
that
then.
role.
That doesn't make sense. He's been playing there his whole career. He's been playing.
He
He
hasn't.
hasn't
He
played
hasn't.
as a 10 his whole career.
He hasn't. He's been
But
in
that's the
his
player
academy
he
days.
is
He's
now. That's
never
the player
forward.
he is now.
No. You're missing what I'm saying. I'm saying we're talking about balance, right? And I'm saying the majority of his career, he has not played as a number 10. He played as a number 10 for Real Madrid because they have no one up front. He was the goal threat. He was one of the goal threats. He isn't a playmaker kind of guy. He's more of a ball carrier. He's a baller in it. But what I'm saying is Foden is naturally our best number 10 as a playmaker, as everything. What he does for City, if he was to replicate that for England and play in that natural role, like what he was doing all season, because KDB weren't there, we would see the best Phil Foden.
But
What
he
I'm
hasn't
saying is,
done it.
you're saying Bellingham can't play anywhere other than 10 now, just because he played there for one season.
I'm saying you're not getting the best out of him.
But what I would say, Daz,
He
is
got his
that if you
move to
look
Real Madrid.
if you look at what the options that we've said, I would say that Foden, Bellingham, and Rice is less of a gamble than Trent, Bellingham, and Rice. Just because either way, you've got someone out of position, but you've got Trent more out of position in that midfield role than you would have the Bellingham dropping back. And Bellingham can do that role next to Rice. He can do it really well. That's where he played when he first started playing for England. He hasn't always played that far up for England. So I think if Southgate's going to experiment, I think that's what he should have done, basically. But
Bro,
we'll see. All right,
bro,
so let's move on to the second game. And Daz, I'll let you take this one first because you were out there for this game. You were out in Germany, luckily, to see England won,
Yeah.
Denmark won. So again, we took the lead. I wouldn't say it was a deserved lead, to be honest, because Denmark were matching us throughout the game from the start, to be honest. So yeah, what was your assessment of it from the stadium?
First of all, I've got a comment on the atmosphere. Being out in Germany, the fan parks, brilliant, absolutely. First time I've been to an away tournament, and yeah, the fan, everything, the whole experience. I loved every minute of it. Apart from the 90 minutes of actually thinking about it, but yeah, yeah, I was out there in Frankfurt. The performance was not good. It wasn't good at all. We couldn't keep the ball. And actually being there, you see people's positions off the ball, and you get to see a lot more of the game. What I kind of realised, England's biggest problem at the moment, there's no identity. You've got lots of players there at the moment, all playing a different type of game. So you've got Rice playing what he does for Arsenal. Well, not even what he does for Arsenal. Actually, he's playing the six at Arsenal recently. The last 6 months, he hasn't been playing the six. He's been playing more the eight because we've had Jorginho next to him and most recently Partey. So he's not been the main person playmaking, deep playmaker. He's been getting forward. So now he's going back to the six at England, and I don't think it's his greatest strength to pick the ball off the back four and actually play make. Then you got Trent. He's in there playing the Liverpool way. Liverpool, quite direct for a Premier League team, and quite direct. They get the ball. There's not really much, let's play along the back four and into midfield and whatever. Liverpool bypass the midfield a lot of time. They're looking to go direct. Trent looks up for England, gets the ball. I've seen him look up for England. Nobody making any runs. No one to pick up. We know the strength of his passing. No one looking to get in behind. We've got everyone coming to the ball. You've got Foden out wide. What does he want to do? Come to the ball. Saka even comes to the ball. Saka don't really go long anymore. And then you've got Kane. What does he want to do? Come to the ball. There's no one for Trent to hit. When he's at Liverpool, he's got Diaz, Jota, Salah. Them man are going.
Yeah, he's got the runners.
Coming to the ball. Yeah, they're not coming to the ball. And this is what the problem is in England at the moment. And then you got Foden. Foden's out on the left, coming inside, wanting to play all this tiki-taki stuff like Man City, which other players don't play. So Bellingham, he wants to get forward like Real Madrid. So it's like, what are we trying to do? There's no identity. So that's why it just looks so disjointed. Harry Kane don't look fit to me. Don't look fit to me at all. The press, there was zero press. Zero press. Every Denmark defender had all day on the ball. And once Harry Kane doesn't go, no one else can go. If someone else went, they're by themselves. There was no constant press or there was no sitting back. It was sort of in between. Then if Harry Kane's not going, then I'm not going to go and waste my energy. So big problems that game. Big problems. It was very, very unimpressive. So I think there needs to be changes. And I think it's all about the balance. First of all, we need to find out what type of team do you want to be. Do you want to be counter pressing? Do you want to be high pressing? What do we want to do? Because at the moment, it seems like we're just stuck. Everyone's playing a different game at the moment. So look at the positives though. We couldn't have played two worse games. We're top of the group with 4 points, basically near enough through. So it can't be all that bad if you're top with 4 points and you couldn't play any worse. So if they do find their feet, they should be a decent team, but they got to do it quickly.
Yeah, very true. And Southgate played the same team that started against Serbia, so it was unchanged. The first sub he made was again Gallagher for Trent, and I think there's quite a few groans around the stadium and watching fans because, as we said, it's very much like for like. It's not someone who can come on and change the game. But what I was surprised about
He
was
made
for
that
the
sub very
second
early
set of
as well.
subs. Yeah, he
That was
did.
very
Yeah,
early, that
after like
sub.
55 minutes. The second set of subs. So he took off Eze, Kane, and Foden all at the same time. Sorry, he did take off Eze. He took off Kane, Saka,
Saka.
and Foden. Yeah, and brought on Bowen, Eze, and Watkins, which I was quite surprised about because Kane rarely gets subbed for England under Gareth Southgate. I'm surprised he took off Foden, even though he didn't have another good game. I thought he would have just let him out there, try and get a bit of confidence, maybe. But other than a moment for Watkins, the changes didn't really do anything. It was like the subs came on without instructions.
Yeah.
Like we didn't see how they were trying to change the game. And it was a bit of a spoiler game. Like, I'm not saying Denmark didn't play football, but they were out to spoil what England were trying to do. Like Højbjerg was just running around like a maniac, like played better for Denmark than he ever has done
They
for
made
Tottenham,
him.
I
They
think.
made him look good. They made him look like he was a. Like he was a well. I couldn't believe it how good they made Højbjerg look because he's rubbish, and they
Yeah.
made him look very good.
And even Ericsson, who's been very indifferent for Manchester United the last kind of few months of the season, just kind of dictating play, like doing what he wants. Yeah, it was very, very mundane. T, what's your take on the game?
Yeah, it was just rubbish, innit? It was a rubbish game. No, it's true. I, well, I didn't know exactly. I thought it was going to be another 1-0, to be honest. But, Denmark are a little bit better. They done what they had to do. People like Ericsson running the show. Højbjerg running around like a maniac. Just doing better than what we've got. And we've got world class players on the pitch. But yeah, something needs to happen, and I don't think Gareth is going to do what it takes to make it happen. So much more of the same, I'm predicting.
And to be
Adrian?
fair, there's not an excuse like what Daz was highlighting about the counter pressing or pressing. He's had what 3 weeks, what 2 friendlies, 3 weeks to work on a system that they're going to be doing, and it's like you know what it reminds me of when you play for like the team for the first time. So you join a team, or you play for district, or you play for the county, or whatever it may be, and you just go, all right, this is the formation, and when we haven't got the ball, everyone behind the ball, and that's it, and that's where you need to be. Don't worry about pressing, and when we get it, we'll get it up there to blah and blah. There's no real idea of what England are trying to achieve during the game, what patterns of play they're trying to set up. Are they going to do this? And the only people, and it's not a coincidence, but it's only Saka and Walker that seems to have a little bit of a rhythm going on because they played with each other what over 20 games now, or just short of 20. So
Yeah, about that.
about that, so that's it's not a surprise that them two seem to know when to go and when to hold and etc. But and it should be better for Kane as well. But I think with age, Kane just got into this habit of coming into the pockets and trying to ping the balls left, right, and centre. But there's not enough runners beyond him. But then you're slowing it down too much, or you're too deep that you can't get up to support when it does go forward. So everyone's got to check back in to wait for him to get up, so they can start the attack again. So yeah, you need to just either rest him and let him get fully fit and go with Watkins for the hour, and then bring him on, or bring him off after an hour and bring on Watkins for half an hour. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense. So England should qualify. They've got 4 points. Means they're pretty much through. I guess they ideally want to top the group. So they need a win in their last game. I think Southgate should make changes. What changes he'll make, we don't know. There's rumours that it's just going to be Gallagher for Trent at the start.
Mm,
I think
Yeah,
there
I
should
heard.
be
I heard that's
more.
confirmed. I heard that's confirmed that it's just going to be one change.
Yeah.
Gallagher for Trent.
Let's see. I don't think that will make much of an impact. I think unless everyone kind of raises their game collectively, it's going to be, still pretty much of a muchness. But there's only one way to find out.
You're not going to control the game with Rice and Gallagher as your two midfielders. It's not what they do. It's not what they do.
No.
It's not. It's not what their qualities are. They'll get around the pitch and that, but they're not going to control the game. For me, I know you said risky earlier. You said it'll be Trent, but with Trent, Rice, and Bellingham or Foden. For me, I'll play Kobe. I'll play Kobe Mainoo. I think he's the closest to what we need in there with next to Rice in terms of actually controlling the midfield and controlling the game.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
So I was just about to ask you that. So what? So that would be your midfield three, and then who would you put on the left? Gordon.
Gordon, yeah, 100%. Because Gordon's a runner. That's what we need. We got Kane coming to the ball. Saka's a little bit of both. We need someone out there who's going to keep the width. He's natural. He plays out there every week. Gordon will be on the left for me. Eze will be an option, but I think Gordon's a different is more the profile we need for the balance, as Adrian was saying earlier on. I think he fits the balance more. Someone who's going beyond their defender, rather than someone like Eze who's going to come towards the ball rather than go beyond.
Yeah, I would play Wharton. I think my ideal three at the minute would be Rice, Wharton, and
Or even Wharton. Or even I wouldn't.
Yeah.
The only reason why I've not said Wharton because I've not seen him enough because I haven't seen Palace enough times. But if Wharton's what I'm hearing, then even Wharton I think would be a good option.
I think, and I'm with you as well in terms of Kobe because I think for me when I watch Kobe, he can receive it on the half turn, on the back foot. He doesn't mind it in tight when he's got surrounded by players. He's not scared of that. He's like, all right, I'll do a trick to get out of this situation. But you got to play Kobe in a double pivot. You can't play him as the six because physically
Yeah. I agree.
he,
Yeah.
he gets dominated physically. So Rice will still have to be the six, but at least he knows the outlet is Kobe, and then he can push on to support.
But this is what I'm saying. I don't understand why it's even like It seems like it's so far in Gareth's mind to do that. Like he'd rather shoehorn Trent in the midfield than playing a guy that we've clearly seen
A midfielder.
okay, he's in Man United. It's not the greatest Man United team, but he's still at a big, massive club in the Prem. He's come through and he's looked natural. Like he's seamlessly walked in and he's calm. So why not just put him in?
Yeah.
It's Gareth, innit? That's just the way he's he's always been. Well, yeah. So let's see how England's last game goes, and hopefully the Euros continues to be as good as it has been so far. By the time we record our next kind of Euros episode next week, all the group games would have been finalised, and we'll know who the last 16 are. So yeah, thank you very much, boys, and yeah, until next week.
Next
Peace.
week.